He walked into his own bar unnoticed, dressed in worn jeans and a faded hoodie, the kind that made strangers glance past him instead of at him. No one knew he was the silent owner of the place, one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the state, because he had chosen to hide his wealth that night. He wanted to see something real, something unfiltered, something people wouldn't show him once they saw the watch on his wrist or the sleek car he usually drove. But as soon as he entered, he felt the shift in the air. Not the usual hum of a Friday. Night crowd, something colder, something sharpened by quiet judgment. A group at the bar eyed him with suspicion, whispering under their breaths. A security guard stiffened. A few patrons looked at him the way people do when they've already made up a story in their heads. One, based on his skin color, clothes, and what they assumed about people who looked like him. He sensed hostility before any words were spoken. He had lived long enough to recognize the signs. This wasn't new, it wasn't surprising. But it still stung in the way only repeated injustice can. He braced himself for another familiar night of silent prejudice, until one waitress stepped forward, offering kindness that seemed almost out of place in the room. He didn't know it yet, but her simple act would change everything. Wait a second. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this one. He was a self-made millionaire, someone who had climbed from childhood poverty to owning several successful businesses. One of them, a bar in a growing downtown district, had become a local hotspot, known for its elegant atmosphere and upscale clientele. But despite his accomplishments, he never forgot the places he came from, the communities where he first learned what bias felt like, and the countless moments when people judged him before they ever heard him speak. Lately, he had been feeling disconnected from the world he built. Wealth had insulated him, surrounding him with polished smiles and crafted compliments. His staff knew him as a generous but distant figure who visited rarely and stayed even less. Customers recognized his image from magazines, but few ever imagined he would walk into his own establishment dressed like the people who were often turned away at the door. That night, he wanted to observe his business in its raw, unfiltered form. He wanted to see how people were treated without his name influencing them. He wanted to feel the place's energy, the way his customers did. More importantly, he wanted to see whether his bar, a place he once hoped would welcome everyone, had begun to mirror the same exclusion he grew up fighting against. His arrival was quiet, unnoticed, except for the tense reactions of a few patrons and the subtle disapproval of security. He approached the counter, hoping to sit for a moment, order a drink, and watch the room. But before he could settle, a waitress approached him, with gentle concern. She saw what others refused to see, a human being before anything else, and while he didn't yet know her story, he could already sense a sincerity in her presence, one that contrasted sharply with the coldness surrounding them. The tension in the room deepened as he sat down. He noticed the way conversations around him shifted, voices dropped, glances sharpened, assumptions brewed. A group nearby moved their purses closer. Someone murmured that he didn't look like he belonged. The security guard hovered, pretending to watch the crowd, but clearly keeping him in sight. He absorbed it all quietly. It wasn't new. He'd spent a lifetime navigating spaces where people saw only danger or poverty when looking at him. But what unsettled him was seeing it unfold in a place he owned. A place he had envisioned as a refuge where people of all backgrounds could gather without judgment. The waitress continued checking on him. She didn't pity him, nor did she make a show of kindness. She did what should have been ordinary. She treated him like anyone else. She offered him water when others tried to push him away. She made sure he had a seat even when customers complained. She stepped in when a patron suggested he should leave to keep the place safe. Every move she made pushed back against the undercurrent of prejudice swirling through the room. He watched her with quiet appreciation. She wasn't performing kindness because she suspected he was wealthy. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She couldn't stand by and let discrimination unfold in front of her. Meanwhile, the hostility escalated. A man at the bar loudly suggested that the stranger must be homeless. Another speculated he might try to steal something. Someone complained to management that the bar was slipping by allowing people like him inside. The manager approached, with stiff politeness, asking him whether he had come in with anyone. The question carried the familiar weight of suspicion masked as professionalism. He answered briefly, hoping to avoid drawing more attention. But the manager pressed, hinting that the crowded establishment required proper appearance and conduct. Before he could be pushed further, the waitress stepped in again. She subtly redirected the manager, offering to take responsibility for the table, shielding the man from further interrogation. Her voice was firm but respectful, her stance unshakable. He felt an unexpected wave of gratitude. As the night unfolded, the room's atmosphere became a test of patience and resilience. The more kindness the waitress showed him, the more aggressively. Some patrons responded, as if his presence, combined with her compassion, threatened their perception of who deserved to be treated well. The situation built towards something inevitable, a moment when the hidden owner would need to decide whether to reveal himself, confront the prejudice engulfing his own business, and acknowledge the bravery of the woman standing quietly at his side. The pressure finally snapped when a disgruntled customer demanded that he be removed from the bar entirely. The manager hesitated, torn between keeping the peace with the complaining patrons and respecting the waitress who continued defending him. The security guard took a step forward, preparing to escort him out. The room watched, some with irritation, others with smug anticipation. In that instant, the millionaire realized he could no longer remain silent. The humiliation wasn't new to him, but seeing the waitress bear the weight of the crowd's hostility because she refused to abandon her principles sparked something deeper. He stood up slowly, his posture calm but resolute. The manager insisted they needed to maintain standards, unaware of who they were speaking to. The security guard's hand hovered near his radio, ready to call backup. The waitress moved closer, fear tightening her breath as she sensed the situation spiraling beyond her control. She didn't know the truth about him, but she knew injustice when she saw it, and she refused to let it swallow him. That was the moment he reached into his worn jacket and pulled out his wallet, not to show cash, but to reveal the sleek, black access card that only the owner possessed. Silence crashed through the bar. Recognition spread. Faces drained, whispers turned to stunned quiet. The people who had judged him most harshly realized the man they tried to push out was the very person whose name kept the lights on. And standing beside him, the only one who treated him with dignity, was the waitress who had risked her job to protect a stranger. The room remained frozen in disbelief. He spoke calmly, not with anger, but with a quiet disappointment that cut deeper than any public outrage. He explained that he had come in disguise to see how his customers and staff treated people who walked in without apparent signs of wealth. He didn't name names or scold individuals. He let the silence speak for itself. The silence of prejudice exposed. He turned to the waitress and thanked her, his tone filled with genuine appreciation. Her kindness had not only shielded him, but had reminded him of the humanity he feared. His business was losing. She had acted with courage in the face of collective judgment, risking backlash to protect someone she believed was vulnerable. He asked to meet with her after her shift. Not to reprimand her, but to offer her a promotion, a salary increase, and a role in shaping new staff training centered on fairness, empathy, and racial sensitivity. Word of the incident spread throughout the city over the following weeks. Some people felt embarrassed, others defensive, others deeply reflective. But the message was impossible to ignore. Prejudice doesn't just live in hateful words. It thrives in silent assumptions, in uneasy glances, in the invisible lines drawn between who is welcomed and who is tolerated. The millionaire never forgot that night. It reshaped how he ran his businesses, selected his leaders, and built spaces intended to uplift rather than divide. And he often wondered, how many acts of quiet kindness go unseen every day? And how different would the world be if more people chose compassion over assumption? Before you go, tell me, which country and city are you watching from? Take care.